Right now, while you are reading this, there's a very good chance that somewhere inside the walls of your home, bees are awake. Not outside, not in the garden. Inside, moving through darkness, building something, communicating, operating a system so sophisticated that scientists still struggle to fully explain how it works. And the most unsettling part is this. They have probably been there for months, maybe longer, and you had no idea. Most people never think to ask what is happening inside their walls. They hear a faint hum and assume it is the pipes. They feel a subtle vibration and assume it is traffic. They notice something near a crack in the ceiling and assume it is nothing. But sometimes it is not nothing. Sometimes what is living inside the structure of your home is something ancient, something intelligent, and something that has already learned far more about you than you have ever learned about it. Tonight, we are going somewhere most people never think to look. Inside the hidden world that exists just inches from where you sleep every night. What bees do in complete darkness while you are unconscious. What they build when no one is watching. What they know about the space around them. About the sounds you make. About the rhythms of your life. And why the walls of your home may already be part of something far larger and far stranger than you ever imagined. Stay with this, because what you are about to learn is happening right now, closer than you think. Here is something that changes everything once you understand it. A bee colony does not sleep while you are unconscious, while the world outside goes quiet, while everything in your home goes still. The colony never stops. It never pauses. It never rests. Inside the darkness, thousands of individuals are working simultaneously, maintaining temperature, feeding larvae, processing information, communicating, preparing for the next day with a precision that no human organization has ever matched. Think about what that means for a moment. Every single night of your life, while you close your eyes and your brain finally goes quiet, something else inside your home does the opposite. It accelerates. The darkness that signals rest to you signals something entirely different to the colony. Night is not downtime. Night is when certain essential processes reach their peak, when the hive consolidates what it learned during the day, when decisions are made about where to send foragers tomorrow, when the colony, in its own extraordinary way, prepares. And when a colony exists inside a wall, which happens far more often than most people realize, that activity is happening inches from where you rest your head every single night. You have heard it before without knowing what it was. A faint vibration, a low hum that seemed to come from nowhere, a sound so subtle you dismissed it as a house settling, as pipes, as something ordinary. But sometimes it was not ordinary at all. Sometimes what you heard was 10,000 bees working in organized silence on the other side of your wall. And what they were doing in that darkness is something that will change how you understand these creatures forever. But first you need to understand something that most people get completely wrong about bees. Something that changes the meaning of everything else that follows. Most people think of a bee colony as a collection of individual insects, thousands of separate creatures living together out of convenience. A crowd, not a system. Something like a very busy apartment building where everyone happens to share the same address, but lives their own separate life. That picture is completely wrong. A colony is a single organism, not metaphorically, not poetically, functionally. The individual bee is not the unit of intelligence. The colony is. No single bee understands a full picture. No single bee directs the others. No single bee knows what the colony knows. And yet together they form something that behaves with extraordinary intelligence, extraordinary precision, and extraordinary adaptability. Scientists call this emergent intelligence, a property that arises from the interaction of thousands of simple parts, none of which are intelligent alone, but which together produce something that absolutely is. Something that can solve problems no individual bee could solve. Something that can make decisions no individual bee could make. Something that can remember, adapt, respond, and learn in ways that continue to astonish researchers even after decades of dedicated study. And this changes what it means when a colony moves into your walls. Because what moved in was not a swarm of insects looking for shelter. What moved in was a mind, a distributed, collective, constantly processing mind that immediately began doing what it always does, learning everything it could about its new environment, including your home, including the rhythms of the space, including you. This is where things become genuinely strange. When a colony establishes itself inside a structure, the first thing it does is something that researchers only recently began to fully appreciate. It maps, not the way humans map with paper or screens or satellite images, but through thousands of individual scouts moving through every available space, communicating what they find, building a collective picture of the entire environment from the inside out, the dimensions of the cavity, the exact volume of the space, the temperature variations at different points throughout the day, the direction of airflow through every crack and gap, the sources of vibration, which ones are constant and which ones vary, the patterns of light and shadow that shift as the sun moves, the sounds that repeat on schedule, the movements that happen at predictable times. Your movements. Think about that for a moment. A colony living inside your walls is surrounded by information about you every single day. The vibration of your footsteps moving across the floor above them, the rhythm of your voice in conversation, the sound of water moving through pipes when you shower in the morning, the times you turn lights on and off, the particular pattern of sounds that signals you are preparing to leave the house, the different pattern of sounds that signals you are settling in for the night. To a colony inside your walls, you are not unknown. You are a pattern, a recurring event, a set of signals that repeat with enough regularity that the colony has incorporated them into its understanding of its environment. Not the way another human would understand you, not with empathy or curiosity or interest, but in the way that matters most to the colony, as predictable information about whether the space around them is safe, stable, and likely to remain so. And here is what makes this stranger than most people expect. Researchers studying colonies in natural cavities, hollow trees, rock faces, the spaces inside old buildings, discover that colonies develop what can only be described as location-specific behavior. The way a colony responds to its environment changes based on that specific environment over time. Colonies in different locations, even colonies from the same original swarm, develop different patterns, different responses to different stimuli, different tolerances to disturbance, different thresholds for alarm. In other words, the colony inside your walls has become, in some small but measurable way, adapted to your home specifically, to the particular sound your house makes, to the particular rhythms of activity that flow through it every day, to the specific human presence that occupies the space on the other side of that wall. It knows your house in a way that nothing else does. But what happens inside those walls at night is something even more extraordinary than mapping and adaptation. Because while you sleep, the colony is not simply maintaining itself. It is doing something that reveals just how sophisticated this form of collective intelligence truly is. It is making decisions, collective decisions, real decisions, not instinct in the simple sense most people imagine, not reflex, but a genuine process of evaluating options, weighing information gathered throughout the day, and reaching conclusions that will shape what the colony does tomorrow, all without any single individual in charge, all without anything that resembles the kind of centralized leadership humans associate with organized behavior. One of the most astonishing examples of this involves temperature. The colony inside your walls maintains its internal temperature within an extraordinarily precise range, typically around 35 degrees Celsius, regardless of what the temperature does outside. When winter arrives and the air grows cold, the colony does not go dormant. It generates heat, thousands of bees vibrating their flight muscles in coordinated pulses, producing warmth in the exact quantities needed, distributed through the structure of the comb in ways that maintain the required temperature throughout the entire colony. When summer heat builds, the opposite happens. Bees positioned at the entrance fan air through the cavity. Water is collected and spread across the comb to cool through evaporation. The entire system adjusts collectively without any individual be understanding the whole process. What this means is that while you sleep under your blankets, your own body running its own temperature regulation systems, the colony in your walls is doing exactly the same thing. Two separate biological systems maintaining precise internal temperatures, operating simultaneously on opposite sides of the same surface. One of them conscious, one of them not, both of them alive, both of them working through the night. And the colony has been doing this for longer than you know. This is the part that stops most people when they hear it for the first time. A colony that successfully establishes itself in a wall does not leave on its own, not in a week, not in a month. A colony that finds a suitable cavity and begins building will stay for years, sometimes for decades. Researchers have documented colonies in the same location for 15, 20, sometimes 30 years or more. Generation after generation of bees, none of them the original inhabitants, all of them maintaining the same location, the same comb, the same accumulated knowledge of that specific space. The bees alive in that wall today are not the bees that moved in. Those bees died long ago. Their descendants died, and their descendants after them. But the colony continued, the knowledge continued, the patterns continued, because in a very real sense, the colony is not its individual members. The colony is the accumulated information, the built structures, the established behaviors that persist through generation after generation of individuals who live and die without ever knowing the full picture of what they are part of, which means a colony in your walls right now, if one exists, may have been there since before you moved in. It was there when the previous occupants lived in your home. It learned their patterns, their sounds, their schedules, the particular signature of their presence in space. And then they left. New sound arrived, new movements, new patterns, new chemical signatures traveling through every gap and crack. And the colony simply updated its information, incorporated the new data, adjusted its understanding of the environment, and continued, as it always has, in the dark, while everyone slept. Now here is what happens when the sun goes down and your house goes quiet. The foragers return. Every bee that spent the day outside, traveling distances that seem impossible for something so small, navigating by the position of the sun and the pattern of polarized light in the sky, visiting hundreds of flowers, gathering food and information, and bringing both back home. They return as the light fades, and when they enter the colony, something extraordinary happens. Information moves. The waggle dance, the extraordinary communication system, where a returning bee encodes the direction and distance of a valuable resource in a precise angle and duration of a vibrating movement that happens inside the hive in complete darkness. Not just darkness, total darkness. The bee performing the dance cannot see the bees watching it. The bees watching cannot see the dancer. And yet the message transfers with remarkable accuracy, because the watching bees do not need to see. They follow the dance with their antennae. They feel the vibrations through the comb beneath their feet. They decode a precise navigational coordinate from movement alone in the dark and emerge the next morning able to fly directly to a location they have never visited, which means the comb inside your walls is not just a structure, it is a communication network, a living substrate through which information travels constantly. Every footstep you take transmits through the floor into the walls and into that comb where it's felt by thousands of receivers simultaneously. Every voice, every sound, every vibration your life generates in that house travels through that network. Scientists studying this have found something they did not expect. The comb transmits vibration with such efficiency that bees can detect and respond to sounds humans cannot hear. Frequencies below the range of human perception. Subtle structural vibrations that pass through solid materials. The colony is receiving information about its environment through channels that are entirely invisible to the humans sharing that same space. Engineers who study bee comb structure found principles they had not encountered before. The hexagonal geometry, the precise angles, the specific thickness of the wax walls, all of it combines to create a structure with acoustic properties that no human engineer had independently designed. Properties that are now being applied to wireless network optimization, to noise reduction technology, to the design of collective decision-making systems in artificial intelligence. The thing in your wall is not just a nest. It is an information processing system that has been refined over 50 million years of evolution, and it chose your home. But there is one more layer to what happens while you sleep. One more thing the colony does in darkness that most people never think about, and it is perhaps the strangest of all. The colony dreams, not the way you dream, not with images or narratives or the processing of emotional memory that human sleep involves. But researchers studying bee colonies have observed something during nighttime hours that has no clear explanation in terms of simple maintenance behavior. Individual bees enter periods of reduced activity that show similarities to sleep states in other animals. Their antennae droop, their responsiveness to stimulation decreases, and during these periods, something happens in their nervous systems that appears to consolidate the learning from the day. In other words, the bees in your wall may be doing something at night that serves a similar function to what you do when you sleep. Processing, consolidating, preparing, and some of what they processed today was information about you, your footsteps on the floor above them, the time your alarm went off, the sounds of your morning routine, the vibration of the door closing when you left, the different vibration of it opening when you returned. All of it absorbed, processed, incorporated into the colony's understanding of the space it inhabits. You have been living your life on one side of a wall, and on the other side, something ancient and extraordinarily intelligent has been paying attention, not to you as a person, not with intention or curiosity or awareness in any sense that would feel familiar, but in the way that 50 million years of evolution designed it to pay attention, completely, continuously, with a precision that human technology has only recently begun to approach. The next time your house makes a sound at night that you cannot immediately explain, a low hum, a faint vibration, something that seems to come from inside the structure itself rather than from anything visible, take a moment before you dismiss it, because it might be exactly what it sounds like. Something alive, something working, something that has been there longer than you have, something that knows the particular acoustics of your home in ways you never will, something operating on the other side of an ordinary wall with sophistication that continues to astonish the scientists who study it. The world inside your walls is older than your house, older than your neighborhood, older than the city around you. It has been running continuously, generation after generation, through seasons and years and decades, and it is still running. Right now, while you go about your day, while you prepare to sleep tonight, it never stops. And now that you know it is there, you may never hear your house the same way again. If what you just discovered changed how you see the space you live in, the next video reveals something happening even closer to you, something that most people walk past every single day without ever realizing what they are walking through. Click here and do not stop watching.